Working out is one of my favorite things to do aside from YouTube. So with such a drastic turn of events, it looks like I'm an Olympic champion now. There's one more thing to qualify me though to be the world's best sportsman. Or is it the world's worst? Oh wow, this should be interesting. Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games. Oh, the sweet, sweet memories. I remember playing the original on the Wii back when it was released years ago, and I did get quite a bit of enjoyment out of it for what it was. However, before we go any further, I gotta say a huge thank you to my friends over at Nintendo. I was sent a copy of the game by mistake at the time. I didn't have a 3DS capture board to get my own footage. After I tried sending it back, it came back to my mailbox because it got lost in the mail for 3 weeks. And after I tried to volunteer to send it back again, I was just told to keep it. So thank you, Nintendo, you guys are the greatest. Anyway, after almost a decade, they're back at it again with a new installment, this time on the Nintendo 3DS system and the Wii U. This is Mario and Sonic the Rio 2016 Olympic Games. I never did get the chance to pick up the Wii U version just yet, but am I excited to see what this one has to offer? Sure I am. The Sochi 2014 Olympic Winter Games on Wii U was a decent title, so I was hoping for a similar situation with Rio. I know I'm not the only person that's decided to call it that, but let's be real, these titles are getting a little bit too expensive. With that said, let's get right into it. Rio is separated into a few different modes. There's quick play, where you can just pick your sport and play a single match, or multiple if you choose to do so, and then along with that, there's Road to Rio, which is basically story mode. That's the main course for the game and what we're going to be talking about today. And finally, versus mode, but because I had nobody to play with, I never did capture any footage, so I apologize. However, to my knowledge, it's just local multiplayer with quick play events that I will be going over. I'm just going to be taking a look at Road to Rio, but in the midst of playing through that, we get to see all the Olympic events anyway, and I'll cover some extra ones also, so you won't be missing out on anything really. The main game starts out with me arriving at Copacabana, Rio of all places for the beginning of the 2016 Olympic Games. After being greeted by two weirdos in Mario and Sonic costumes, you're asked to choose a team. Are you gonna side with the Mushroom Kingdom or the rodents? If you know me, you know I chose Team Mario. Sorry Sonic, but we gotta go fast to win the Olympics, and you haven't done that lately. In all seriousness though, story mode is pretty standard. There isn't anything that really jumps out and grabs my attention that I'll remember in a year or two from now, but it isn't bad by any means. It gets what it needs to done. You progress through preliminary events until you're the champion of each sport. The writing is interesting now and then, and seeing Mario and Sonic characters collide once again isn't a terrible thing. However, I do know people are a little burnt out of the franchise as a whole. I'm kind of neutral, but I'm leaning towards the same situation. However, I feel like this is a little more fresh for some reason. Between each of the 7 days of events, the AI seem to get more and more difficult, and that isn't a bad thing, no, but oh my goodness, I did not expect that, I will say that much. One thing I would also like to point out is that I would really like to have thrown Metal Sonic out of a 10-story window. That would have been fantastic during the BMX bike races. Just saying, I was very irritated. It was terrible. It feels rigged at times simply because it's CPU. One can only mash the A button so many times on the 3DS so quickly. But finally, after beating characters like that though, you feel relieved more than anything. The game kept telling me that I needed to change my outfit to be able to participate in certain events, or in their case, win them. But I actually didn't have much trouble using the same outfit for most of the entire story mode. It wasn't up until I believe day 4 or 5 that I actually ran into having to change outfits to be able to win in a new event. Whether it was just luck or the outfit I was wearing that determined if I won or not is up to you to decide. But for the record, I am awesome at this game, thank you very much. With the idea of having to go through the preliminary events such as rhythmic gymnastics, beach volleyball, just to name a few, it's obviously expected to run into other events also. I played the sports required through there, but ventured out more later into all of the other activities the game had to offer in quick play mode. There's all kinds of stuff. Most of it is structured pretty simply. It's basically the same exact formula they've used for previous handheld Mario and Sonic games. Sometimes it is just a bunch of random button mashing, trying to speed up to get a nice long jump, or boxing to get a single hit on an opponent, and most of the time, they seem alright. Not fantastic, but they aren't bad by any means. I'm kinda neutral with the controls. I guess hitting buttons repeatedly hurts less than cramping your hand after dragging the stylus everywhere on the bottom screen. So there you go, Nintendo, thank you for not pulling a Kid Icarus Uprising on me like that. I mean, I'm just more indifferent about them than anything. But those are controls, and you do need them. so automatically anybody has to use them. So whether or not you can get used to that is up to you. For each sport though, it really does vary. For example, in javelin throwing, you'll need to draw lots of lines back and forth to run, and then once you hit your top speed, draw the angle suggested for the longest distance throw. Then there's golf, where you use the stylus to pull back the club to swing at the ball. It all just depends on how you're playing the game and what sport you're participating in. All in all, the events are pretty straightforward. They always have been in the series. That isn't necessarily a bad thing though, but the only real selling point of this franchise is the characters. You can play as characters from Mario and Sonic universes, and yeah, that's kinda cool I guess. In fact, that's the main concept for the entire franchise. But what more could it do? It doesn't stand out in the sports aspect. It's just another clone of the previous installments in my eyes. However, there is one saving grace from that presented itself as I was playing through. If you go to the quick play menu and click the X button, it shows a menu for sports dubbed plus events. This has gotta be by far my favorite part of the entire game. Yeah, sure, same events as normal. What makes it any more different than the other ones? There's a really subtle twist on these that make them either more Nintendo-fied or Sega-ish. Don't harass me for it, but yes, I did just make up those words. The minigames are honestly much better this way, either making them revolve around having to snatch a power-up to run quicker in the 100-meter dash or hitting a golf ball over a Rainbow Road style course. Up front, it really doesn't change that much, but it sure does switch up the gameplay with certain events. I like that. In fact, Nintendo should stick with this formula in my opinion. Market not what we've seen for multiple years past, but show us what extras we can play and how it relates to your company. If you ask me, people would dig a lot more Mario related events and Sonic related events than same old jumping hurdles. Using that concept may sell it to people a bit more, at least in my eyes. Cosmetically speaking, the game actually looks very good, with only a few frame drops here and there. Specifically, only in the football event did I ever come across that, not in any other events. Maybe I missed one here or there, but I don't think so. Enough to look past though, because all in all, this game is interesting. While the music is a big factor to me in any game I play, there really isn't much to remember with Rio. It seems a little run together. I will say that even with the bare bones use of Amiibo, only powering up Mario and Sonic suits daily, after you unlock them that is, the game is still rather decent. It isn't a bad game by any means, really. Is it amazing? Well, if you're super into the Mario and Sonic games, sure. But what I will say is that this game is definitely, at least to me, the definitive handheld Mario and Sonic game. Out of those, Mario and Sonic, the Rio 2016 Olympic Games easily takes the cake. Yeah, I'm not digging this real life exercise thing.